Hello guys, it's your friend Naruto Fanfics, back again with another awesome fanfic. Which is what if Naruto abandoned Konoha and returned as the Whirlpool Emperor with Hinata? Part 1. If you enjoy it, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing for more fanfics like this. And now let's get started. Snafu's notes. Looks like I'm onto something here. Since this story will be short, I want to issue the following challenge. The Whirlpool Taijutsu Challenge, which is a side story of Naruto, Consequences. Basically, Naruto will host a taijutsu tournament which is open to any and all ninja from the surrounding countries. Tsunade will send a recon unit to Whirlpool consisting of Jiraiya, Kakashi, Asuma, Maida Guy, Rock Lee, Tenten, Neji, Ino and Sasuke, where they find out that Naruto is the Whirlpool daimyo and Hinata is his wife. The events will ultimately lead to a confrontation with Sasuke and Naruto, with Naruto winning. PM me if you are interested for more info. Karma's a real bitch. You'd be wise to remember that. Michael Masters, Fallout 3. Konohagakure no Sato, Fire Country, 2 weeks later. 19 years earlier, Konohagakure no Sato was in its prime. It was the strongest of the shinobi villages. With clans such as the Hyuga and the Uchiha among their ranks, as well as the power of the Nine Tails at its disposal, it was a village that commanded respect and was feared by its enemies. Now, 19 years after the Uchiha retrieval mission, the Leaf's power and influence has waned. It was no longer the strongest of the villages, as that position was taken by Neo Uzu. The village itself was under attack by rival ninjas from the smaller villages, such as Smoke, Grass and Waterfall. Each attack was repelled by Konoha just barely, but it was starting to take a serious toll on the village. Parts of the village were still in ruins from repeated attacks. The village walls had numerous holes in them from exploding tags and animal summons. And the war was just getting started. Then, the leader of Omegakure came to the village. Tsunade Senju and the Konohagakure Council, what was left of it, looked down on the leader of Omegakure with great disdain. It wasn't the actual leader, but rather a shadow clone sent to Konoha from the Fire Capital, where he currently was at with his hostages, the Fire Lord and his family. With Sasuke Uchiha dead, Tsunade was forced to take back the mantle of Hokage. The leader of Omegakure was tall, standing nearly 7 feet tall. Dark hair was tied into a ponytail, the eyes showing intensity, as well as hidden intelligence, and stark ruthlessness. In the 19 years since the conclusion of the Uchiha retrieval mission, Konoha had not recovered from the fallout following Uzumaki's banishment. She had no love for the Uchiha, and made it clear. But she despised Naruto even more, as she blamed him for Kushina's death. Jiraiya was also present. The left side of his face was horribly scarred, a memento from Naruto. Using blood left over from his blood clone, Jiraiya had unsealed the Namikaze estate, only to find the place empty of its wealth and jutsus. The chest loaded with exploding tags was something that even he didn't see coming. Your ninja disappoint me, Senju. His voice was deep and menacing. Here, I was expecting a challenge from the village who fancied itself as the strongest of the shinobi nations. If your precious Uchiha wasn't much of a challenge, then what is the point of talking? You got a lot of nerve to show your face here, Tsunade shot back. The will of fire is still strong in the Leaf. And yet, you have failed in your rescue attempt of the Fire Lord, Hanzo replied. And there's not need for empty threats. We all know that Konoha is no longer the strongest of the shinobi villages. Your allies have long since forsaken you because of your past deeds. Tell me, Senju, did the Leaf ever got their alliances back with Suna? Perhaps Spring, even Mist. I don't think so. You were alone in this matter. Tsunade's voice died in her throat. It was true. Ever since Naruto's banishment, the Leaf and Fire Country had become a pariah state. In less than 2 decades, Konoha had lost its status as one of the 5 great villages to Neo-Uzu. And even more worse, Hasnu continued, twisting the knife. Despite repelling attempts of invasion by the smaller villages, they have been taking their toll. Your shinobi forces are down by what, half? Maybe more. Konoha is still strong. Hanabi Hyuga, now the Hyuga clan head following the death of her father, shouted. He had died while attempting to rescue the fire daimyo, along with her sensei, Asuma Sarutobi. We will fight you to the death. Hanzo tapped his chin as if in thought. Strange. Your father and cousin said the same thing before I killed them, he replied as if he was discussing the weather. That did it for Hanabi. Byakugan ablaze, she tried to rush the older man, but was held back by the Ino Shika-cho trio, and Hana Inazuka. You monster. You killed my father and cousin. I'll fucking kill you, Hanabi screamed. Hanzo merely waved her off, as if she wasn't a threat. You couldn't kill a cockroach in your state. But me, on the other hand. I could launch a full-scale, take no survivors assault on this cesspool of a village, and with Iwa backing me up, Konoha will be nothing more than a footnote in the history books. But, Jiraiya prodded as Hanabi collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. But, I will give you a chance for you to save your village and live in what little dignity you have left, Hanzo continued. As I've said before, your ninja were not that decent in the field of battle. You have grown complacent in your supposed superiority and gotten lax. Your trump card, the Uchiha, has ultimately failed. Hatake, the Sarutobis, that crazy taijutsu master, and his protege, the Inazuka, the original Ino Shika-cho trio, those who you have put your faith in, has failed you. Give me the challenge of a lifetime, and whether I win or lose, I will withdraw from Fire Country. We'll fight you, anytime and anywhere, Tsunade said. You misunderstood me, Senju, Hanzo replied. The challenge is not here. I wish to fight the one the leaf has forsaken in favor of the Uchiha. Jiraiya's eyes went wide, as did Tsunade's, and everyone else in the room. You mean, the old perv began. Yes, Hanzo replied. This is not negotiable. I wish to fight the Leaf's greatest champion. The one who had defeated the Uchiha Runt not once, but 3 times, and has stripped you and your comrades of that precious title that my great-grandfather bestowed upon you. I want the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Bring me Naruto Uzumaki, office of the Hokage, later. Tsunade looked out of the window and into the village. Repeated attacks over the years had taken its toll upon the Leaf. Konoha was now reduced to half of its population, and the village was in bad shape. Ever since Omegakure had declared war on Fire Country 2 weeks earlier, the minor villages had been launching guerrilla-style assaults on the village, weakening the Leaf even further. The last battle was quite vicious. Grass Ninja had infiltrated the Konoha hospital and leveled it. The hospital was transformed into a triage center. Sasuke Uchiha was being treated at the time by Shizune and Sakura Haruno when the attack came. Grass Shinobi came charging in and let loose with explosive clones littered with exploding tags. The hospital was destroyed in the blast, killing all inside. The Uchiha line, along with the Sharingan, was now extinct. The civilian council was gone, having fled the village with their families, leaving only what remained of the Shinobi Council. Aside from Hanabi Hyuga, who had taken her father's place on the council, there was Hana Inazuka, now the last surviving member of the Inazuka clan. Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka and Choji Akamiki also sat on the council, replacing their fallen parents. The old guard, Danzo Shimura, Kaharu Udatane and Hanmura Mitokado, had died at the hands of Sasuke himself when it became clear that this whole mess was Danzo's fault. After Rashojin Hanzo left the village, Tsunade retreated back to her office. Seated behind the desk, sake bottle in hand, she was taking swig after swig of the drink. Ever since the deaths of Shizune and Sakura, she hadn't stopped crying and drinking. What remained of the civilian population mourned the death of the last Uchiha, some of them even blaming Naruto for their current predicament. Tsunade chuckled bitterly. She blamed Naruto for many things. But this time, Naruto was innocent. She blamed him for Kushina's death, and blamed him for the downward spiral which led to Konoha's fall from grace and the revival of Whirlpool, leading to Neo Uzu's position as one of the great shinobi villages. But the one thing she hated him for most of all was stripping herself, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, of their titles of Konoha's legendary Sannin following the wave conflict 2 years ago. Both Konoha and the Fire Lord thought that Whirlpool and Neo Uzu would self-destruct with the so-called Kyuubi brat as its daimyo. They even bet on Iwa declaring war on Whirlpool and eliminate the last Namikaze once and for all. But as always, pulling off the impossible was at the top of Naruto's already long resume. He had grown even more powerful during his exile, and both him and his wife were a credible threat. Not even the remaining members of the Konoha 11, their senseis nor Danzu's route could stop them. He even negotiated a non-aggression pact with Iwa and Earth Country, thus securing Whirlpool's safety. Iwa May had been war-happy, but even they would not attack Naruto, despite being Minato's son, given his automatic diplomatic status and that the Wind Daimyo had personally forgiven Naruto for the sins of the father. So when Konoha marched into Wave Country via the bridge, they planned on annexing the island to Fire Country and use it as a forward operations base to invade Whirlpool. They were surprised to find that the main village was already evacuated and that the daimyo of Whirlpool was already there, with his wife, and with his Neo Uzu forces. It was there that Naruto threw down his challenge, Konoha's legendary Sannin versus the Whirlpool of daimyo. The prize was control of Wave Country. Tsunade had to admit that Naruto was out of his mind to present those terms. Should he win, Konoha will leave Wave, never to return, and Wave will be under the protection of Whirlpool. Should Konoha win, then Whirlpool will concede defeat and withdraw from Wave, allowing Konoha to take over. The three Sannin accepted the challenge, assuming that they would net an easy win. They thought wrong. Naruto was once known as the unpredictable ninja, the one who could make the impossible possible. It was something he took pride in, both as a warrior and as the daimyo of Whirlpool. With his victories over his former cell, Madara Uchiha and Itachi Uchiha, the three Sannin could have been cautious. Naruto took on the three Sannin, with the gathered Uzu and Konoha ninja watching. Tsunade remembered how Naruto had countered her chakra-powered super strength with his own, of how he destroyed the coffins of the first 4 Hokages when Orochimaru tried to unleash the impure world resurrection, and of how he countered Jiraiya's Rasengan with a Senjutsu-powered Rasengan of his own. In the end, their arrogance had led to their downfall. And Naruto had it planned as well. Aside from Neo Uzu and Konoha, the Kazekage and the Raikage were also present, as were the Spring Daimyo, who was shooting a movie in Wave when they heard about the invasion. Despite the fact that it was a 3-on-1 battle, Naruto had the Shadow Clones, his Fuinjutsu, the Hiraishin Jutsu and the Rinnegan. The three Sannin were defeated by the Whirlpool Daimyo, by the same person that they had each considered the dead last, and completely useless. Summoning Gamakichi, Naruto stood on top of his head and made the following proclamation. By right, Wave Country is now under the protection of Whirlpool Country and of Neo Uzushiogakur no Sato. Any further attempts of aggression towards the people of Wave will be seen as an act of war. To you, Jiraiya, Tsunade Senju, and Orochimaru, you were granted the title of Konohagakure's legendary Sannin by Hanzo the Salamander as a result of surviving his onslaught. As that title was blessed upon you, so it can be taken away. As the daimyo of Whirlpool, I strip you of your title of legendary Sannin. Lady Hokage. The voice of Ino Yamanaka snapped Tsunade out of her thoughts. She was not alone. Standing on either side of her were her teammates, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamaiki. Jiraiya was behind the Ino-Shika-Cho trio, as was Tenten. The war had taken its toll on the four elite Junin, as Ino, Shikamaru and Choji had lost their parents in the failed rescue attempt, while Tenten was the remaining survivor of Cell 9. It had gotten worse from there, as Yoshino Nara committed suicide upon notification of her husband's death, and Choji's mother had a fatal heart attack once it was known that Shuza was dead. Neither had children of their own, but took it upon themselves to raise Asuma and Kurenai's two children. The Ino-Shika-Cho trio were also present in the council chambers when Hanzo made his demand. They knew that Naruto would defend his precious people, but after being screwed over for the Uchiha and shunned and hunted by those he thought were his friends, even Shikamaru knew that the chances of Naruto coming to their aid were pretty slim. "Anything from our former allies?" Tsunade asked. Earlier in the week, she had sent out word of Konoha's distress to Suna, Spring and even Kumo for aid. "Bad news all around," Ino replied. Suna flat out refused to help, as did Spring. Mist also said no. Kumo is remaining neutral in this conflict. There is no way around it. We need Naruto, after how we screwed him over for the Uchiha and a piece of his inheritance. Shikamaru butted in, knowing full well of Konoha's personal motives in banishing and their attempts to kill the former genin turned daimyo for his clan's wealth and jutsu. Not to mention Hiashi and Danzu's attempts to kidnap their children. We'll be lucky if Naruto doesn't lead the charge into Konoha himself. Jiraiya and Tsunade knew that the slacker was right. Neither person had no love for the Uchiha, but they disliked Naruto for their own reasons. It was because of those actions that Naruto saw their offenses as a betrayal to both his parents and to himself. And Naruto never forgot those who slighted him and his family name. Both generations of the Ino-Shika-Cho trio had went after him, Hinata and Anko, whilst the trio were working as ninja mercenaries. Both had failed. When it became known that Naruto himself had revived Whirlpool as its daimyo, it was Shikaku and Shikamaru who reminded the Konoha Council and the Fire Lord that Naruto, much to their dismay, was protected under diplomatic status, as he was the recognized leader of a foreign nation, as was Hinata, since she was the wife of said daimyo. But it was Sasuke who pointed out that as their children were active shinobi, they were fair game, hence Danzo and Hiyashi's attempts to capture both Minato and Hitomi. Minato for Danzu's root Anbu because of his Rinnegan, and Hitomi for Hiyashi in order to subjugate the girl to the caged bird seal. That attempt failed. Naruto saw each failure as giving a big middle finger to Konoha. Tsunade didn't know who she hated more. Danzo was the one directly responsible for the mess that Konoha was currently in, along with Koharu and Hanmura. All three were killed, along with a sizable number of the civilian council by Sasuke himself. There's the possibility that Naruto could forgive us, Ino suggested, grasping for straws. If it was the old Naruto, then yeah, the slacker replied. People change in nearly 20 years. Especially those you screw over, Ino. Enough. Both of you, Tsunade ordered. We are in a state of emergency. If we don't do anything, then Konoha will be destroyed. As much as I hate to admit, we need that brat of a daimyo if not to defend Konoha, but to at least force Hanzo to cease hostilities. It was also a known fact that Whirlpool's daimyo was well respected, even to his enemies. Having survived being a missing ninja longer than any known ninja tends to do wonders for your reputation. That, and playing a role in the Akatsuki's destruction was a nice bonus. Even the remaining members of the Konoha 11 saw that their village was better off with the Jinchuriki. The civilian council thought otherwise, praising the now-dead Sasuke for their prosperity when it was actually Naruto's doing. We don't have an exact timetable over when Hanzo and his allies will attack Konoha, Jiraiya said. The scarred super pervert took his place alongside Tsunade. Which is why you four will leave for Whirlpool immediately. By the time you will get there, the annual taijutsu tournament that Whirlpool annually holds will commence. And by tradition, the daimyo of Whirlpool must grant anyone who comes before him an audience. That part was very much true. Ever since Naruto revived both Neo Uzu and Whirlpool, he hosted an annual taijutsu tournament twice a year. It was an economical boom to Whirlpool and it showed goodwill on Whirlpool's behalf. As part of that tradition, the daimyo of Whirlpool has to grant an audience to anyone who comes before him. Usually it's just a minor petition for favors and such. This is an SS-class mission of the utmost importance, Tsunade continued. Go to Whirlpool country, get a hold of that Gaki and tell him of our situation. Tell him that if he sides with Konoha, then the village will recognize him as the legitimate heir to Minato Namikaze, and we will recognize Whirlpool and Neo Uzushiogakur. I don't care if we have to pay him reparations for the abuse he suffered. I want him on our side. You're not really going to do what you promised, are you? Choji asked. Of course not, Tsunade replied flatly. I'm merely ensuring Konoha's survival. And Tsunade wonder why people avoid us like the plague, Ino thought darkly, but kept silent. Aside from favoring potential traitors over heroes, Konoha had developed a reputation for stabbing their clients in the back. It was a major reason why they were unable to gain any trading alliances with the neighboring villages and countries. You four will leave within the hour, Tsunade ordered. Head for Azura and get Whirlpool on our side. Once Hanzo and Aim is dealt with, I will personally deal with Naruto. Ino shook her head. The conflict in Wave had left her even more bitter. When Jiraiya lost the backing of the Toads, she too lost the support of the Slugs, who also threatened to destroy Konoha should she try and summon them again. What made Tsunade see red was that the Slug contract was passed on to Gaara's wife, who had studied under Hinata. Matsuri would go on to build a medic ninja program in Suna following Neo Uzu's example. But it was Naruto stripping the legendary Sannin of their title was the final straw. Orochimaru tried to attack him from behind, only to lose his head as a result. Shikamaru sighed and accepted the mission scroll. He had talked with his teammates and even he knew that Konoha was in its last days. But as long as he wore the Hittite of the leaf, he will do his duty. Ino and Choji both felt the same way. It was after their parents had confessed their role in the conspiracy to rob Naruto of his inheritance and legacy that up until that fateful mission to rescue the Fire Lord that their relationships with their parents have been strained. They disliked Naruto for being the Jinchuriki, but they were not so crazy about having a virtual traitor as Hokage and a second traitor return to Konoha with so much as a slap on a wrist, despite having killed Hiruzen Sarutobi. Once the Ino Shika Cho trio and Tenten were gone, Jiraiya turned to Tsunade. You think Naruto will go for helping us? We're not exactly his two favorite people in the world, you know. The Gaki will help us, Tsunade replied firmly. He would die for this village, protect it with his dying breath. In the coming days, she would find out how wrong she was. For the four ninja assigned to the task, it would be the last time they would see Tsunade alive again. Neo Uzushiogakur, Whirlpool Country, 1 day later. Training Ground Number 12. Naruto had kept close tabs on the conflict on the mainland. His network of informants and spies proved to be even more capable and more efficient than Jiraiya's own spy network. He even knew the perverted bastard's informants by name. The most recent news he shared with Hinata concerning Konoha showed its weakness. Sasuke Uchiha was dead. Sakura Haruno was dead. Like Hinata, Naruto was the sole surviving member of Cell 7. Sasuke had the dubious honor of being the Hokage with the shortest term in history. Even more shorter than his father's reign. A Megakure knew where and how to strike, and used the minor villages to its advantage, having them strike at Konoha, depleting its forces even further. Naruto approved. With the annual taijutsu tournament approaching, he was expecting less people to show due to the conflict. The Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament was held in the town of North Azura on the northern island. The island was also known as a popular vacation hotspot for ninja and civilian alike. Even had settled there after stepping down as Raikage, allowing Yugito-ni to assume the position of Raikage. The Taijutsu tournament was Naruto's brainchild, and it brought the best of the best from the shinobi nations. For 1 week, North Whirlpool was a literal battleground as ninja fought each other. For 1 week, rivalries and hatred was put aside as ninjas fought for a hefty prize and the title of champion. No bloodlines, no weapons, no jutsu. Your hands and feet were the weapons. Naruto himself fought in the tournament, only because he was challenged by Sasuke Uchiha, who had competed in the tournament in its inaugural year. The Whirlpool of Daimyo took pleasure in stomping the Uchiha prince down. It also sent out the message that the Whirlpool Daimyo was someone that should not be taken lightly in the field of combat. At the moment, the Daimyo of Whirlpool was sparring with his former pupils, while Yahiko, Konan and Hinata watched. When Naruto reformed Whirlpool, Maru, formerly Konohamaru, Sarutobi, Moegi and Udon were Suna Chunin, having left Konoha with Gaara in the aftermath of the Uchiha retrieval mission. Not even Asuma threatening to disown Maru should he leave did not change his mind. Asuma followed through with his threat, in which Maru responded that Asuma was dead to him, and that he was a disgrace to the memory of the Sandaime. When word came to Team Misfits that their boss was now the Daimyo of Whirlpool, they approached Gaara and asked to resign in order to emigrate to Whirlpool. Gaara, knowing of Naruto's friendship with the younger ninja, allowed them to leave with his blessings. Upon arriving in Whirlpool, they were the first of many Chunin-level ninja to arrive, Naruto opening citizenship to bloodline refugees, nomad, civilian and samurai alike. Naruto took the 3 under his wing. In the 8 years that followed, Maru, Moegi and Udon still called themselves Team Misfits, but they were one of the best teams Neo Uzu had to offer. Like his grandfather, Maru was an expert in ninjutsu. Combined that with the Monkey King summon, and people saw the young Sarutobi as the second coming of the professor. Moegi turned out to be skilled in medic ninjutsu, and she learned under Hinata and Katami. Udon was the tactician of the trio. His keen mind combined with his skills in taijutsu made him a fan favorite in the taijutsu tournaments. Maru had married a local girl from Wave Country who worked in the Pakara merchant house, and was a father himself. His sons were enrolled in the Neo Uzu Academy. Moegi and Udon both married each other and settled in New Uzu as well. Their child was also in the Shinobi Academy. Dressed in his combat attire, i.e., black Konoha-style flak vest, cargo pants and sandals, and armed with his okatana, Naruto twisted through the misfits' attacks, occasionally smacking them with his sheathed sword. It wasn't painful, but it definitely stung. Smack, smack, a blow to Maru's shin, causing him to yelp, followed by a smack to the head. Dead, Naruto deadpanned. Smack, a blow to Moegi's side. Had Naruto impaled her, she would have bled to death. Dead, smack. The older man swept Udon off his feet, followed by a double tap to the chest and head. Very dead, Naruto finished. Even acting as one, the misfits could not gain the upper hand on the Daimyo. They were capable of giving him a run for his money, but Naruto was the superior ninja. "We almost had you that time, boss," Maru complained. "One more time," Naruto chuckled. "Maybe next time, Sarutobi." Before Maru could object, a Uzu Anbu appeared via Shunshin, along with a second person. "Lord Daimyo, you have a visitor," the Junin reported. Naruto saw that it was Rashojin Hanzo. Frowning slightly, he wondered why he was here when he should be in Fire Country. Then it hit him. He forgot that Hanzo also knew the Shadow Clone's jutsu. He must have sent this copy to Neo Uzu to get his take on the invasion. Hanzo bowed respectfully to Naruto. Sure, Hanzo was older, but Naruto was higher on the status ladder than he was. Unlike the salamander, Hanzo knew where to give honor and respect when it was due. Fortunately for Naruto, he was one of the few people that Hanzo genuinely respected. But Hanzo knew of Naruto's connections to Konoha. If Naruto decided to run interference, then his plans of raising Konoha to the ground would be in vain. Lord Daimyo, Hanzo greeted. Rashogen Hanzo, Naruto replied, bowing back. I've heard that you've been busy. That I have. I wish to have a word with you, Lord Daimyo. Naruto turned and walked down the path leading to the village. Hanzo fell in step beside him, while Team Misfits and the Uzu Anbu tagged baying at a respectable pace. So you know about my occupation of the fire capital, Hanzo began. Do you know I plan on invading Konoha and razing it to the ground? I've heard. Iwagakure wants to get in on the action, but has concerns facing you and Neo Uzu should you fight on Konoha's behalf. If I decided to join in and help defend Konoha, then that would violate the non-aggression pact I made with Iwa and Earth Country, Naruto replied. The last thing I want or need is to be remembered for starting a shinobi war. Hanzo nodded in understanding. But you still haven't answered my question. I'm not interfering in your quarrel, Naruto replied. If I was younger, if I still wore the symbol of the leaf, then yeah. But after their betrayal and their repeated attempts to kill me, my wife and their antics concerning my children, I could have easily destroyed them myself by allowing the Nine Tails to go to town. But I didn't. I decided to spare them, to let them know that the dead last could just as easily crush them in ways that Orochimaru and Madara could dream of. You spared them so that they could live with the disgrace, Hanzo surmised. He knew that Naruto was no coward. He knew how to pick his battles, and where and how to strike for maximum damage, which was how he was able to destroy the Akatsuki. Hanzo approved. Not bad. Most ninja tend to overlook battle tactics. I am honestly impressed, Daimyo Namikaze. Glad to see that your years as Daimyo has not dulled your senses. Konoha is alone. Fire Country is alone. I also have ninja in the surrounding countries on assignment, Naruto said. Hanzo nodded in understanding. As long as they do not attack my ninja, I will show the same courtesy. And your allies. They will not interfere, and at the same time, will not fight on your behalf, Naruto replied. I've already discussed this with the others. I will not aid Konoha in any shape, form of fashion. I will not fight them, as I have nothing else to prove to them, but I will not save them either. Hanzo smiled. That was the answer that he was looking for. Naruto had just confirmed to him that he was more than willing to send Konoha to a hell of their own making. I thank you for your time, Lord Daimyo. I will take my leave, Hanzo said, bowing, to which Naruto responded with a nod of his head. The shadow clone then dispersed. The fire capital, Fire Daimyo's residence. The memories of the shadow clone were transferred to the real Rashogen Hanzo, who was currently in talks with the Tsuchikage, Kuretsuchi. The leader of Iwa had her concerns when an AIM envoy came to her with a most interesting offer, the destruction of Konohagakure no Sato. Kuretsuchi noticed Hanzo pausing in mid-speech, before a smile spread across his face. Good news from Neo Uzu? She asked. Very. Hanzo replied. Daimyo Namikaze made it clear that he nor his allies will not aid Konoha. The Leaf's fate is sealed. So, about our alliance. Kuretsuchi nodded. You have the full support of Iwagakure no Sato. When do you plan on attacking Konoha? 3 weeks. That drunk of a Hokage actually think that Daimyo Namikaze will help them. As they sit, praying and hoping that their former Jinchuriki will help them, we will strike. I've heard that they've sent 4 of their ninja to Neo Uzu to ask for help. By the time they return to Konoha, they will find it burned to the ground. Kuretsuchi nodded. One more thing. What's your take on Daimyo Namikaze? Hanzo thought about it for a moment. I respect him. He's been through so much growing up, being the container to the most powerful of the Biju. It takes a lot of willpower not to unleash hell upon a village that spits on you, yet was willing to defend to his dying day. Any weaker man or woman would have either killed himself or went mad with such a burden. Kuretsuchi could understand. After all, Iwa had two Jinchuriki of their own, Roshi and Han. Out of the pair, only Roshi was still alive, as Han was killed by the Akatsuki. Like Roshi found a home in North Whirlpool, spending his life in peace. As long as Roshi did not don the Hittite with the Whirlpool insignia, she left him alone. "Follow me," Hanzo said. "I have an appointment with the Fire Lord." So, the idea of sending Konoha ninja to Neo Uzu to try and get Daimyo Namikaze on their side was just a ruse, right? Of course. You really think that Konoha would actually succeed in the task that I gave them? The Yondaime's son hate Konoha as much as you do. By the time our forces are in place, they will see that it was all for naught. I promise on the bones of the original Hanzo the Salamander. Konoha will be destroyed. By having the Fire Lord sign this scroll, it shows that he was more than willing to throw the village to the wolves in order to save his own life, thus demonizing him even more in the eyes of the public. The past 19 years had not aged the Fire Lord well, nor was he able to appease his counterparts in spring, wind and water. After all, he too was one of the chief conspirators in orchestrating Uzumaki's banishment for a sizable cut of his family's wealth. Too bad Naruto had taken it with him when he left Konoha. His crimes made public, he had lost face with the other daimyos. Even Earth Country and Iron Country called him out on his arrogance in denying the son of the village's hero his legacy. When Whirlpool was reformed under the same boy he had ordered to be killed, he was the only one to denounce him, not recognizing his authority as Whirlpool daimyo. But since Whirlpool was allied with 3 different countries, invasion would result in Konoha's destruction. And now, here he was, a prisoner inside his palace. AIM Ninja had the capital locked down tight following Konoha's attempt to rescue him several weeks earlier. He was allowed to move within his palace, but was always under heavy guard. His guardian ninja were of no help, either, as they were slain protecting him. His wife had succumbed to a heart attack during the invasion. And to make matters worse, Hanzo forced him to watch as he and his AIM ninja slaughtered the Konoha ninja. He watched as the rescue force, 200 strong, were cut down. He watched as Asuma Sarutobi died while protecting his wife. He watched as Kurenai Sarutobi was pinned to the wall, her body riddled with kunai. Kakashi Hatake, the famed copy ninja, had fallen to Hanzo himself, his neck broken. And Sasuke Uchiha, both eyes were ripped out and crushed under Hanzo's heel. The final indignity was Hanzo snapping the Rokudaime's back like a twig. Only 10 of the Konoha ninja survived and made their retreat, taking the Uchiha with them. Hanzo ordered the remaining bodies to be incinerated. He was inside his study, a single AIM guard was his companion. The doors to the study opened and in walked Rashojin Hanzo and Kuretsuchi. "General Hanzo." The AIM ninja bowed. Hanzo ignored him as he walked towards his prisoner. Pulling up a chair, he sat down in front of the Fire Lord's desk. "Ready to talk?" the AIM warlord asked. The Fire Lord sighed. Giving Danzo the green light to attack him was definitely a bad idea. "What do you want?" he asked. "To discuss the instrument of surrender. We'll see how much your integrity weighs against the lives of yourself and of your family. I know you gave Shimura the order to try and kill me. I also know that you ordered him to kill my great-grandfather and his supporters. So rather than kill you in retaliation, I'm here to offer terms. These are non-negotiable, and I am merely offering you these out of courtesy. First, you will pay a one-time indemnity to both villages of Rain and Stone." "A bribe, you mean?" the Fire Daimyo shot back. "Call it what you like, but you will pay what you owe," Hanzo replied. Again the Fire Lord had no choice. His life and that of his families was at stake. That in paying off both villages could all but ruin him. Done. Anything else? Yes. The destruction of Konohagakure no Sato. What? Destroy Konoha. It already has been through enough with the loss of their Hokage, who was the last of the Uchiha. And from what you already told me, the majority of their Junin and Chunin were killed in repeated assaults on the village. Destroy Konoha. We were the first of the nations to have a village. Please, spare the village. Hanzo's face was grim. Suit yourself. Without breaking eye contact, he addressed the AIM Junin, his voice ice cold. Retrieve the Fire Lord's family, his mistress, children and grandchildren, all of them, and show them the same courtesy as he showed to my family. The Fire Lord's eyes went wide at the realization of Hanzo's order. He was going to execute his entire family. Wait. Hanzo cocked an eyebrow, one hand raised, stopping the AIM Junin in his tracks. He had the Fire Lord right where he wanted him. Producing a scroll, he unrolled it and placed it in front of the Fire Lord. The Fire Lord looked at the scroll. It was titled Terms of Surrender. It was already signed and sealed by both Hanzo and Kuretsuchi, but was missing his signature. As you can see, my terms are harsh, but fair, Hanzo said. I have no desire for territory, nor to make Fire Country a protectorate, nor does Iwa or Earth Country. But the terms are clear. Fire Country will no longer have a shinobi village. In exchange, we will leave you in peace. Konoha will be burned to the ground, its ninja from Chunin to Junin will be slaughtered should they resist. Any ninja who surrender to our forces will have their chakra sealed and sent into exile. Any genin will be taken by Iwa and AIM back to their respective villages, their minds will be wiped clean and we will raise them as our own ninja. The civilians will not be harmed. All jutsu will be destroyed. Any clan's wealth that is left behind will be paid as part of the indemnity. Since the Uchiha clan is now extinct, its wealth will be used as part of that indemnity. So what's it going to be? The lives of your family for one village who has dug its own grave. Or I execute your family as you watch, with you being the last to go, and the rain and stone will crush Konoha regardless. Make your choice now. With a trembling hand, the Fire Lord reached for his pen. But Hanzo stopped him. Hanzo chided. Before the Fire Lord could say anything, Hanzo grabbed his hand and jammed the pen into his palm, causing the old man to yelp out in pain. Now you may sign, Hanzo said. With a second cry of pain, the Fire Lord yanked out the pen and signed the scroll in his own blood. The scroll reacted to the signature, making it binding as the Fire Lord applied his Henko seal onto the document, making it legal. With that action, the Fire Lord had officially sealed Konoha's fate. I have taught you many ways to kill a mortal, Kratos. Flesh that burn, bones that break. But to break a man's spirit, is to truly destroy him. Ares, god of war. The Ino Shika Cho trio and Tenten had left Konoha that very night. They could have taken a boat down river to the coast, but AIM and Iwa ninja patrolled the river, forcing them to take the long way around, which meant heading north, traveling incognito as not to attract any unwanted attention from unfriendly ninja. Their destination was a small port in Lightning Country, where a ship would take them to Azura. The trip had taken them 2 weeks just to arrive at Azura. This was Ino and Tenten's second time returning to Azura, as was Tenten's, since they were part of the original recon team along with Neji Hyuga, Sakura Haruno, Maeda Gai, Rock Lee, Asuma Sarutobi and Sasuke Uchiha when Whirlpool decided to host a taijutsu tournament. It was also there where the big revelation was revealed that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was the daimyo of Whirlpool and the former Hyuga heiress was his wife. Of course Sasuke went through the tournament, and like an idiot, called out the Whirlpool daimyo, declaring his superiority over him as an Uchiha elite, despite having lost to him twice. Normally, Naruto would remain on the sidelines watching, but decided an object lesson in humility and humiliation was in order. Sasuke did not stand a chance as Naruto decimated the Uchiha prince, proving to all those present that he was the wrong daimyo to piss off. Things went from bad to worse when he activated his curse seal in violation of the rules. Naruto's response: a chakra-powered open palm strike to the chest a la Wesker's Cobra Strike, which sent him to the tournament walls and a lifetime ban of showing up in Whirlpool, on pain of death. The Uchiha's ego once again gave Konoha yet another black eye. Aside from the confrontation with Naruto and Sasuke, Neji confronted Hinata once again, while she was with her and Naruto's children. Ino and Asuma had witnessed the resulting beatdown from the sidelines. Apparently, Neji had forgotten that attacking the wife of a daimyo was a very bad thing, especially after threatening harm on her children. Ino shook her head. The beatdown she had given Neji the first time around when they were missing ninja was bad enough, but hell hath no fury like a woman protecting her children. Neji was sent to the Neo-Uzu jails for the duration of the tournament for the attempted assault on the Whirlpool daimyo's wife and children, after Hinata had beaten him within an inch of his life. Like Sasuke, he too got nailed with a lifetime ban for his attack on the daimyo's wife. And now, they were on a boat, heading for Azura, where the Namikaze family would be for the duration of the Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament, with the fate of Konoha hanging in the balance. Tenten was out on deck. That's where Ino found her, hunched over the railing, puking her guts out. Ever since the start of the mission, Tenten had been puking every morning. Ino thought she was sick, but it was Shikamaru who figured it out. "You really are a troublesome teammate," Shikamaru had said. "Tenten's pregnant. Neji's the father." Ignoring the catcalls of the other male ninja, Ino approached Tenten. "You okay?" "Not really," Tenten replied. Ino bit her lip. "How long?" "Excuse me." Shikamaru figured it out. "How long have you been pregnant?" 3 weeks. I only found out after the hospital blew up. I think Neji knew. Tenten was one of the 10 survivors of the failed rescue attempt of the Fire Lord. It was Neji who had found out from using his Bikogan that they just walked right into an ambush. Then the killing began. Cell 9 remained together with their flamboyant sensei and were delivering major losses to the AIM forces. Then Hanzo stepped in, and according to Tenten's report, things went to shit fast. Maeda Guy was the first to fall. Then Rock Lee. Tenten would have been next, but Neji attacked Hanzo from behind, and earned a broken neck. Neji's head twisted back a complete 180 degrees, for the effort. His uncle was the next person to fall at Hanzo's hands. Kurenai was pinned to the wall with countless kunai and Asuma was hacked apart by katana-wielding AIM ninja. Shino and Shibi were incinerated using fire jutsu. The Ino Shika Cho trio had fallen one by one. With the deaths of the elder trio, they were unable to reconcile with their children. Kakashi and Sasuke double-teamed Hanzo. Tenten saw that match. Hatake lost his head, and Sasuke had his back broken and eyes gouged out. 5 of the Konoha Junin fought Hanzo en masse, 2 of them being Sume and Kiba Inuzuka, already injured, allowing the other 9 to retreat with Sasuke. Hanzo decided to let them go, rather than to kill them all. "Tenten, I am so sorry," Ino whispered. "How am I going to explain this to our child?" Tenten said, looking down at her stomach, which was covered up by her Junin vest. It was flat now, but in a couple of months. "You'll have to tell them the truth," Ino said. "That their father died like a true shinobi." Pausing for a moment, Ino removed the Hittite from her pocket. Looking into the metal piece with the insignia of the lead carved into it, the blonde kunoichi ran her thumb over the symbol. "I was so happy when I received this. But now, I can see now that Shikamaru was right. Konoha's days are numbered, but if we get Naruto on our side, then we might have a chance," the weapons master pointed out. "Even if we did get Naruto on our side, Konoha is still doomed. Shikamaru explained it to Choji and I. We lost too many high-ranking ninja ever since this war started. Our Chunin are as green as they come and we're basically the last of the Junin. Konoha is done. It's all his fault, Tenten said. That damned Kyuubi bastard. No, he's not the Nine Tails reborn. He's a Jinchuriki, the human sacrifice, Ino explained. While I despise Naruto for being that, he is no demon. Between him and the Uchiha, I would rather deal with Naruto. But didn't most of the Junin, including your father, tried to kill him on separate occasions? Didn't you? Tenten remained silent after that. She did tried her hardest to kill both him and Hinata when they were both missing ninja. She wasn't expecting Naruto to beat her at her own game by becoming a master swordsman. She was just following orders from Tsunade and the Fire Lord. The only person who truly looked out for him was the Sandaime. You think that Naruto would forgive us? After all the crap we've put him through? Tenten asked. You mean the beatings, the repeated assassination attempts, and being betrayed? I seriously doubt that. I wasn't too gaga over him, but after Sasuke's attempted defection to Orochimaru, I wasn't too nuts about him either. Naruto had the power to destroy Konoha, but kept it in check. Sasuke was more than willing to kill in order to gain power. So in a way, I kinda respect Naruto and wouldn't blame him if he refused to help us. In Azura, Naruto sneezed. You okay? Hinata asked. Naruto nodded. I think someone is talking about me. Town of Azura, North Whirlpool Country, the following day. Preparations were underway for the Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament. Ninja from the major shinobi nations and even the minor ones were starting to show up in preparation for the tournament. The town of Azura, a trading hub and popular tourist hotspot, would be full of people for the next 3 weeks. Even long after the tournament would end, ninja would remain for several more days before leaving for their respective villages. Nestled at the base of the Laja Mountains, Azura was also known for its hot springs, to which several hot springs resorts were built to accommodate demand. Ino, Shikamaru, Choji and Tenten, all dressed incognito, walked down the town's main street. Civilians and ninja were checking out the sights. The restaurants and food stands were nearly packed. Their fake IDs had allowed them entry into Azura without any fuss. Ninjas who were traditional rivals and enemies were all gathered to see who was the strongest. You would have loved this, Lee. Neji, Tenten thought sadly. Of course her deceased teammates were present at the Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament in its first year. That was 8 years ago. Since then Sasuke's actions in the Whirlpool tournament and Neji's actions in his attempted assault on Hinata and her children, Konoha was not welcome in Whirlpool, given their blatant disregard for the daimyo's diplomatic immunity status. At the same time, ahead of the Konoha team, the wife of the Whirlpool daimyo knew how to turn heads, be it in her ninja uniform or in her Chisogam dresses, the Chinese-style dresses you see Li Fang fight in. Currently, she was dressed in the latter. One thing about Hinata Namikaze was that she hated kimonos and yukatas, stemming from her time when she was forced to dress up in those as the heiress. It was while in Spring Country in the 4 years following their exile from Fire Country and Konoha that Koyuki took her to a dress shop in which they specialized in Chisogam dresses. She instantly fell in love with the dresses. Hair done up in a bun and secured in place with a pair of lacquered chopsticks, she walked the streets, turning plenty of male heads as she walked by. The Chisogam was black with red trim, complete with a red rose motif, and showed plenty of toned leg. It was a known fact that the fox sage's beauty was matched with her talent, and any attempts on her life was a one-way ticket to the hospital, or worse. Speaking of their children, they were back in Neo-Uzu, with Katami watching them for the duration of the tournament. Her husband, the daimyo of Whirlpool, was in step beside her, dressed in his formal attire, white shirt, black longcoat, vest pants and boots, Hinata's arm looped around his own. Unlike most daimyos, Naruto could relate to the ninja, as he was still one regardless of being of noble birth. He knew what it was like to start out with nothing, survive backstabbers and betrayals left and right. Ninja who knew of his exploits, be it as a Konoha ninja to the daimyo of Whirlpool, good and bad, respected him. The daimyos also respected him for his abilities to rebuild a ruined nation into one of the most powerful in the elemental countries. What the populace didn't know was that the daimyo of Whirlpool and his wife were in fact, shadow clones. Unknown to the four Konoha ninja, Naruto and Hinata were already onto them, hence the cage bushin that was leading them to Naruto and Hinata's Azura residence. Since they had arrived the previous night, they were spotted by Anko, who in turn notified Naruto and Hinata. Originally, Naruto had thought that they would not ask for help, but upon finding out that they were here, he told Hinata that she was permitted one. I told you so. His mind was already made up in regards to Konoha. This was their own mess, and he did not want to get involved. But since they made the trip, might as well not disappoint them with an audience. Daimyo's summer residence. Shikamaru suspected that something was up. This was too easy as they followed the daimyo and his wife through the streets, down a private walkway, and into their Azura residence. From the look of things, the home was designed like the destroyed Namikaze residence back in Konoha, only smaller. It was complete with a training hall and a lodge. Shikamaru and the others noticed that there were no guards, but suspected that Naruto didn't need any, as he was a Fuinjutsu master. Shikamaru's concerns were then verified as they followed the former Konoha ninja into the compound's courtyard, where they stopped, turned around and faced them. Hop. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, shadow clones. That was all he managed to say before he froze in mid-step, as did his teammates. Shikamaru's reason. The fact that there was a katana blade resting up against his jugular. Turning his eyes to the side, it was a less than amused daimyo of Whirlpool which held the blade at his throat. His teammates were no better off. Yahiko and two extra Anbu held both Choji and Tenten at sword point, while Hinata's chakra scalpel was ready to sever Ino's carotid artery. Shikamaru Nara, I'd expected better from you, Naruto drawled, not moving his blade from the lazy Nara's throat. You knew that we were here. It was a statement, rather than a question from the last Nara. What business does Konoha want with me? Naruto asked. Could you please lower your weapons? Shikamaru asked. We come in peace. For your sake, I hope so, Naruto replied as he lowered his katana, while ordering Yahiko and the Anbu to do the same. Hinata dispersed her chakra scalpel and took her place at her husband's side. On Naruto's command, the Neo-Uzu Anbu dispersed, but remained in the shadows. Sheathing his weapon but keeping his grip on the scabbard, Naruto and Hinata stood within double arm's reach of his former teammates. Shikamaru slowly went down to one knee, with the other three following suit. This was the hardest thing that any of the Konoha ninja could ever do. Ask the dead last, now one of the most powerful men in the shinobi world for help. Had it been Sasuke, he would have scoffed at the thought of asking the Dobi for help. Lord Daimyo, Shikamaru began, on behalf of the Godime Hokage, Tsunade Senju and of the village hidden in the leaves, we come seeking your aid. Amegakure no Sato has invaded Fire Country. The Fire Daimyo has been taken hostage and is being held prisoner inside his home. The Fire Capital has been occupied by AIM forces. Why come to me? Naruto demanded, already knowing the answer. Why not send a rescue force to the capital and free the daimyo? And what happened to the Rokudime? Why is the old hag Hokage again? We tried, and failed, Tenten replied, her voice cracking. 200 Junin-level shinobi, nearly slaughtered down to the last man. I was there when the ambush was sprung. Most of the Konoha 11 was wiped out, as well as several clan heads. She looked at Hinata. Your father and cousin were among the casualties, Lady Hinata. You were mistaken, Hinata replied coldly. I have no father. I have no cousin. How could you be so cold? Tenten demanded, rising to her feet. They were your family. Neji was my teammate. You seem to forget that my father wanted to place the caged bird seal on my forehead because I wasn't the perfect little Hyuga he wanted, Hinata snarled. And you also forgot that Neji tried to kill me out of spite during the Chunin exams. Have you forgotten about that incident? I sure as hell didn't. Naruto placed one hand on Hinata's shoulder. She calmed down. What about the Uchiha? I heard he was elected Rokudaime. Sasuke's dead, Shuza deadpanned. His eyes were ripped out and his back broken by Rashojin Hanzo. When Kakashi tried to intervene, Hanzo killed him. Tenten and 8 others took Sasuke back to Konoha, where the village was already under repeated attacks by the smaller villages. One of the attacks was directed at the hospital, where it was converted into a triage center. Grass Ninja, armed with exploding clones and exploding tags, leveled the entire building. Sasuke Uchiha, Shizune, Sakura Haruno, all dead. Naruto remained silent. I will admit that Konoha has been hit pretty hard ever since you were banished, Shikamaru continued. Ever since AIM invaded, the Leaf has been under constant attack. We managed to fight off the attacks, but our numbers are being depleted. Our Junin forces are down to less than 300, and our Chunin have not known battle until now. Sooner or later, we will no longer have the numbers to fight back. What does this have to do with me, Nara? Naruto asked, obviously irritated. Shikamaru decided not to tell Naruto of Hanzo's demands. He instead told him of what Tsunade wanted him to tell Naruto. The Godaime has promised to acknowledge you as the heir to the Namikaze clan, offer you clan status in Konohagakure no Sato, and all of your past crimes will be pardoned. Naruto looked at Shikamaru long and hard, before replying, you lie. Excuse me, I said, you lie, Nara, Naruto repeated, killer intent radiating from his body, affecting the 4 ninja. Even without the Rinnegan, I can tell that you are lying. Please don't lie to me, as it insults my integrity as daimyo. The old hag never agreed to those terms you presented to me, didn't she? Silence, as Nara looked down. I thought so, Naruto said as his eyes reverted back to normal. You should follow village politics more, Nara. As daimyo of Whirlpool, I have automatic diplomatic status, as does Hinata, which means the entries inside the Konoha bingo book are null and void. Second, clan status in Konoha means nothing to me, as I know that is also a lie. Sasuke and Neji found that out the hard way when they tried to attack Hinata and myself. That's for sure, Ino and Tenten thought. Ino remembered the confrontation between the former Cell 7 teammates on the eve of the Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament years earlier. Sasuke had not been impressed with Naruto's rise as the daimyo of Whirlpool, and still claimed superiority over the former Jinchuriki. Naruto simply got under his skin by saying that if he could not beat him, then killing Itachi was out of the question. That remark made Sasuke furious. Dobi, do you have any idea who you are dealing with? Sasuke had demanded. Naruto's response was cold enough to send chills down Ino's spine. Do you? He responded. Look at where I am, Uchiha. And look at you. You claim superiority as an Uchiha elite, yet you can't beat me. You couldn't beat me at the Valley of the End even with your cursed seal, nor could you beat me in T-Country despite your Sharingan. The fact that you are still alive is because of my grace. That, and your inability of trying to kill your elder brother amuses me. Don't make me think I made a mistake, Uchiha, because I have absolutely no problem in ending the Uchiha line once and for all. Ino spoke up. We received a visit from Rashojin Hanzo. He said that he would spare Konoha if you fight him one-on-one in single combat. Win or lose, he will spare Fire Country. That's why we're here. Almost immediately, upon hearing that, Naruto knew what Hanzo was planning. So that's his game. lowering Konoha's guard by giving them an impossible task to complete, then strike when they least expect it. By the time these four return to Fire Country, Konoha will already be under attack by AIM and Iowa forces. No, no, Ino repeated. No, Naruto repeated. Why should I fight for Konoha when it is well documented that they fail to keep their end of the bargain are of pure spite? I should know. I fought in the invasion when Suna and Oto invaded Konoha, stopped Gaara from destroying the town, and was denied Chunin. I brought that drunken hag back so she could be Godime Hokage, and was denied Chunin. Now, Naruto was starting to get angry. And last, I brought your damned Uchiha back and what do I get? Banishment, with your parents and the Fire Lord trying to steal my legacy. What was rightfully mine from the beginning? The four ninja winced at Naruto's voice. Oh, but there's more, Naruto continued. So much more. Old man Sarutobi tried his best to protect me, that I will admit, but he could not stop the abuse. Ino and the others watched as Naruto's eyes changed from a vibrant blue to a light purple with a ripple-like pattern. Hinata stepped to the side, while Yahiko and the others backed away. Whenever Naruto unleashed the power of the Rinnegan, bad things happened to those who caused his ire, which is rare, but oh was it a sight to behold. Now the four Konoha ninjas were on their knees, unable to move as they stared helplessly into the eyes of their former teammate. They watched as Naruto began to perform hand signs. You want to know suffering? You haven't seen what I've seen, experienced what I experienced. I will draw you into my mind, into my memories, give you a taste of what I have experienced back in Konohagakure. It was a jutsu that Naruto had created along with Katami's aid. It was similar to that of the mind transfer jutsu that the Yamanaka was famous for. However, instead of Naruto transferring his mind over to the four ninja, he instead pulled them into his consciousness. Into his memories. Within Naruto's subconsciousness, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji and Tenten had heard the reports of Naruto being abused. But now, they were seeing it through his eyes as he was beaten mercilessly by the villagers and ninja of Konoha. Naruto's shouts of mercy were immediately drowned out with cries of, "Demon! Monster! Kyuubi bastard! Kill the demon! For the Yondaime!" And things just got worse from there. Naruto made sure that the ninja could see everything, feel everything, know what it was like to be an outcast, to be spit upon. There was no escape as Naruto opened up memories thought to have been suppressed, but resurfaced thanks to the Nine Tails unlocking the mental blocks that were put in place. To drive his point home, Naruto showed them the numerous assassination attempts made not only by their senseis, but also by their parents. We must kill him before my father finds out that something is wrong. Asuma Sarutobi, slashing and punching with his chakra-laced trench knives. It is very troublesome, but a demon like you is better off dead. Shikaku Nara, as he tried to strangle the young Naruto with his own shadow. It is most unyouthful in letting a demon live amongst us. I will avenge the Yondaime and kill this beast. Maeda Gai, unleashing brutal taijutsu strikes on Naruto. This little bastard killed Kushina. He must die. Sume Inuzuka, unleashing her Gatsuga. You fools. Breaking his bones will leave a trace. I will kill him by destroying his mind. Inoichi Yamanaka, attempting to fry Naruto's brain. Drive the demon to madness. Only then will he fall. Kurenai Yuahi as her red eyes glowed with unleashing her most powerful genjutsu on the helpless boy. The brat is not the son of the Yondaime. Hiyashi Hyuga, as he nearly succeeded in killing Naruto with his Jiyuken. It is imperative that the boy must die for Konoha's sake. Shibi Aburame, as his bugs tried to destroy Naruto's chakra system. In dealing with the Kyuubi spawn, there is no such thing as overkill. Shuza Akamaiki, as one oversized fist sent Naruto flying into a wall. He killed Minato-sensei and his wife. For that, he will suffer. Kakashi Hatake, as he unleashed torrents of flame upon the boy, ignoring his screams. The boy is to be banished. He caused the death of Kushina. For that, I will never forgive him. Tsunade Senju, on the eve of Naruto's banishment. So we are in agreement. Once he is dead, all we need is a sample of his blood to get past the seals Minato set up surrounding the Namikaze estate. Afterward, we will split everything inside from jutsus to cash. Since Kushina was the former daimyo of Whirlpool, she was loaded. Jiraiya, also on the eve of Naruto's banishment. So long as you remember to give me my cut for allowing this. Once this is over and done with, destroy all records of the Kyuubi boy. Birth certificate, ninja registration. Everything. It will be as if he never existed. The Fire Lord. What about the Uchiha? Danzo. He will be cleared of all charges. I think teaching him some of Uzu's jutsu and giving him the Namikaze estate to recover will be more of a gesture to convince him to stay. Especially if we teach him the Hiraishin. Again, the Fire Lord. Just as quickly it began, it was over. The Inoshika Cho trio and Tenten found themselves back in Azura, freed from Naruto's mind. As expected, Tenten threw up, while Ino looked catatonic. Choji was visibly shaken, while Shikamaru whispered, "Troublesome, so very troublesome," over and over again. "Now do you understand?" Naruto demanded, Rinnegan still active, longcoat fluttering in the breeze. They tried to erase the abuse that they did, but having the furball sealed inside your gut has its advantages. I found out the abuse the elder Junin did to me while I was in Spring Country. When the elder Junin came after me, I repaid their treachery in kind. You thought I was being cruel. I called it justice. Guy-sensei. Why? Tenten moaned, as she felt her torso burn with the phantom pain of Guy's brutal attacks. Her impression of her sensei had dropped a lot when he was more than willing to try and kill an innocent boy. Asuma. My God. What have you done? Dad. Why did you do this? Ino whispered as she sobbed softly. Quote. Choji was silent. Troublesome. Dad. You fool. Shikamaru muttered as the full totality of what they experienced had hit them. And at last, they understand why Naruto would not help them. They thought it was out of pure spite. But he was justified in not helping them. Justified in wanting to see the Leaf Village burn to the ground. This is a mess of Konoha's doing, Naruto continued as his eyes returned to normal. This is the mess of the Fire Lord. My word is final. I will not come to Konoha's aid. The will of fire is gone, extinguished by the hands of the corrupt villagers and of the Shinobi Council. Had you decided to honor my father's request, I would be more than willing to fight for Konoha. But I refuse to fight for a village who will reward a traitor over a hero. What about us? Shikamaru asked. Killing you would be pointless, so your lives are yours still, the daimyo replied. But I want you gone by tomorrow morning. I have eyes and ears all over Azura, and I will know. Summoning the Anbu, he ordered them to take them back to their hotel for the night. Come the morning, they would be on the first ship back to Lightning Country. Shikamaru and Choji helped the two catatonic women out of the compound, assisted by the Neo-Uzu Anbu. The Azura Inn. Later. Shock was the predominant expression at the revelations which Naruto had revealed to the four Konoha ninja. For a long time, they had been kept in the dark about the abuse and about the events leading up to his banishment. Shikamaru knew some of the details, but Ino thought that the lazy Nara was yanking her chain. They were wrong on all counts. Naruto was banished from Konoha merely for doing his job, which was to bring back the Uchiha. Banished because of the bigotry he faced as a Jinchuriki, out of blatant favoritism towards the last Uchiha, and because of greed, plain and simple. What was worse was that their senseis and their parents all had a hand in either trying to break Naruto or to outright kill him. Shikamaru looked outside the window. The inn overlooked the sea. He also knew that there were Uzu Anbu nearby, on Naruto's orders. They were not prisoners, and were free to leave, but further contact with the Whirlpool daimyo was forbidden. Shikamaru reached inside his vest and pulled out a picture of Asuma and of his team. The picture was taken shortly after completing the Shinobi Academy. Such a stark contrast from seeing their laid-back, chain-smoking sensei to the man who tried to kill Naruto as a child. The pain that Asuma had done to Naruto was directed at him. Shikamaru felt every slice, every broken bone that Asuma had given him. Without giving it a single thought, he gripped the picture and ripped it into several pieces. Tomorrow, the team would leave in the morning. Upon returning to Konoha, they were going to have a long chat with Tsunade and Jiraiya, war be damned. Shikamaru was starting to see, as well as his teammates and Tenten, that Konoha had a lot of skeletons in their closet aside from the Uchiha massacre and the Hyuga Kumo incident. Shikamaru looked at his Hittite. Despite his lazy nature, he was a Konoha shinobi through and through. Now, his faith in the leaf was visibly shaken. The idea of abandoning Konoha was starting to get even more attractive after what he had just witnessed. He also knew that the others were starting to feel the same way. And if they fail to get the answers they deserved, then there will be 4 more missing ninja added to the bingo book. The following morning, final preparations were made in the town of Azura, as the Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament was starting the next day. Inside the daimyo's residence, Naruto and Hinata were chatting over breakfast when it was interrupted by the arrival of a Neo-Uzu Anbu. He was not alone, as there was an AIM courier ninja beside him. "What is it?" Naruto asked, annoyed that his time with his wife was being interrupted. "Forgive me, Lord Daimyo, but there is someone from AIM here to see you," the Anbu replied. The courier ninja bowed to the daimyo and his wife, before producing a scroll. "Lord Namikaze, Lady Namikaze, General Hanzo sends his regards." After handing over the scroll, the AIM ninja and the Uzu Anbu left the couple alone. After making sure that the scroll was not booby-trapped, Naruto opened it. Inside was a copy of the surrender document signed by the Fire Lord, along with a small note attached to the document. Naruto scanned the note before passing both items over to Hinata. Hokage Tower. Jiraiya was summoned to the office of the Hokage minutes after the scroll was delivered. He found Tsunade behind the desk, the color drained from her face, the scroll opened. "What is it?" the old pervert asked. With shaky hands, Tsunade handed over the scroll to her former partner. Soon, Jiraiya's expression matched that of the busty Hokage. What had been delivered to Konoha's doorstep was a copy of the terms of surrender, signed weeks earlier by the Fire Lord, Ryogen Hanzo and Kuretsuchi. "The Fire Lord sold us out," Tsunade whispered. "We're considered expendable." Kaboom! The embattled Godime and her former partner turned to the window, where the massive explosion had literally blasted the door off its hinges, the massive doors flipping end over end like a pair of oversized shurikens, crushing any Konoha ninja that failed to get out of its way. Tsunade knew that Hanabi and the majority of the main branch Hyuga were stationed at the front gates when it blew. She had hoped that the Hyuga clan head's death was painless. Ninja came charging in, weapons drawn, wearing the symbols of rain and stone. As the Konoha ninja engaged the invading forces, both former Sannin came to a horrifying realization. Hanzo's demand of a match with Naruto was a decoy to allow his forces and those of the stone to move in for the kill. Hanzo's gambit had paid off in spades. He knew of Naruto and of his past as a Konoha ninja and had used that against them while forcing the Fire Lord to hand over Konoha to be destroyed by his and Iwa's forces. Naruto wasn't coming. The leaf was done for. The siege of Konoha has begun. Naruto was never going to help us, wasn't he? Tsunade asked as she and Jiraiya watched from the Hokage Tower the deadly battle that was taking place. "I don't think so," the perverted hermit replied. "Never thought he would." Should have known that Hanzo would use Naruto against us. We fell for it. Then again, after what we tried to do to him, we're not exactly his favorite people now, aren't we? Tsunade nodded. So this is it, then. The leaf goes out not with a whimper, but with a bang. Seems that way. Wish I could die in my bed. But dying in battle isn't too bad. Let's make the Shinigami wait a while longer. Tsunade nodded. If Konoha was doomed, might as well make Hanzo and Kuretsuchi earn their prize. If Konoha was to fall, then they would take as many enemy ninja with them as they can. 1 week later, the siege of Konoha was indeed brutal. Tsunade and Jiraiya made good on their promise. Iwa had expected a quick victory, but Hanzo knew better. Konoha's back was to the wall, and despite inflicting casualties, Konohagakure stubbornly fought on. On the 3rd day of the siege, Tsunade Senju, the Godime Hokage, granddaughter of Hashirama Senju, grandniece of Tobirama Senju, was killed in battle. But not before seriously injuring Kuretsuchi with her super strength. With their leader injured in battle, Iwa retreated. Hanzo, deciding that discretion was the better part of valor, decided to pull back his forces as well. Jiraiya, however, did not get through this battle unscathed. The poisons used by Rashojin's great-grandfather were very deadly, and even now they were no exception. A well-aimed Senbon needle laced with the salamander's poison nailed Jiraiya in the neck, a parting gift from Hanzo before pulling his forces back. 2 days after Tsunade's death, Jiraiya received word through his spy network that AIM and Iwa were now planning to launch a Leave No Survivors assault on the village. Hanzo's previous offer of mercy was now suspended. There would be no mercy. Jiraiya thanked his informant, then issued his final order. His information network was to be disbanded. After all, why would a dead man need an information network? Office of the Hokage. Shortly before the fall, Jiraiya knew he didn't have long. The remaining Konoha ninja had taken up positions in the area surrounding the Hokage Tower and in Danzu's underground route headquarters. The protection seals kept AIM and Iwa's forces out, but it wouldn't be long before those seals gave out. The poison in his veins was taking its toll. Either he would die fighting or he would succumb to the poison. From the look of things, it would be the latter. His vision cleared long enough to see the unhappy faces of Shikamaru Nara, Tenten, Ino Yamanaka and Choji Akamaiki. I know I've let you down. I've been a fool to myself. I thought I could live for no one else. You're late, Jiraiya said. Where's Tsunade? Ino demanded. Dead. Killed in action just the other day. It's over. Konoha is finished. Hanzo's demand to fighting Naruto was just a ploy to let our guard down. He refused. By the way, Tenten said. After what we learned, I really don't blame him. But now through all the hurt and pain, it's time for me to respect. The ones you love mean more than anything. Now Jiraiya's interest was piqued. He leaned forward, ignoring the pain in his body. How much did he tell you? Everything. He showed us the abuse and the assassination attempts on his life by the villagers, our senseis, even our parents, Ino seethed. And I'm guessing that he told you the truth about the Uchiha mission, right? The 4 ninja nodded. Outside the ruined village, Rashojin Hanzo and the interim Tsuchikage watched as the seals keeping them outside Konoha were starting to fail. So with sadness in my heart, I feel the best thing I could do is end it all and leave forever. One of Hanzo's lieutenants approached the AIM warlord. Your orders, General Hanzo. Leave no survivors, Hanzo ordered. Show no mercy. Destroy any jutsu you find. Anything else is fair game. At that moment, the seals sputtered, then gave out. Hanzo and Kuretsuchi, with her torso bandaged, and one arm in a sling, gave the order to move out. Back inside the office. Why did you do this to Naruto? Ino demanded, while Choji cracked his knuckles and Tenten had several kunai in her hands. Why did you lie to us about the banishment orders? If anything, Sasuke should have been banished. For the record, I wasn't crazy about the Uchiha like the council and the Fire Lord was, Jiraiya said, deciding to come clean for once in his life. The Fire Lord, Danzo and those two elder councilmen, and the civilian side of the council worshipped the ground that the Uchiha walked on. But we were both united in our hatred for Naruto for our own selfish reasons. His father was my student, a prodigy in the Fuinjutsu arts. I should have been happy that he surpassed me in skill. Instead, I became jealous at his success, especially when he created the Hiraishin. What's done is done, it feels so bad. What once was happy now is sad. I'll never love again. My world is ending. Jiraiya paused for a moment to cough into a handkerchief. Shikamaru noticed that there were specks of blood on the soft cloth. Outside, the forces of General Hanzo and Kuretsuchi began to slaughter the remaining shinobi forces, before being delayed by a second set of seals. Here, 3 squads of Root Anbu delayed them, with orders to kill as many of the enemy ninja as they could before they were brought down. I thought that I had some more to teach Minato, Jiraiya continued. But there was nothing else. Then he married Kushina, who was trained here in Konoha, but was the daughter of the Whirlpool daimyo. I knew that Kushina was very wealthy, given her status as royalty, and combined her wealth with the Namikaze wealth, they were the richest couple in Konoha. When Naruto was to be banished, I saw my chance to get a piece of the wealth that was stored inside the estates. I acted purely out of greed. Why did Tsunade go along with the banishment? Why did she blame Naruto for her death? Ino demanded. Tsunade and Kushina were very close. Tsunade did not have any children and saw Kushina as a surrogate daughter. Tsunade did not know that Kushina was the Jinchuriki to the 9 tails, as was her grandmother was before Kushina, and as Naruto after his mother. Tsunade once told me that Naruto took his first breath by taking Kushina's last. She had opted to kill Naruto herself when we retrieved her after the Sandame's death, but she stayed her hand. I wish that I could turn back time. 'Cause now the guilt is all mine. Can't live without the trust from those you love. Explosions were heard outside, as the explosive traps were triggered, having been laid there by what remained of the Anbu, decimating the Iowa ninja. Jiraiya and Tsunade had seen that the main city streets were booby-trapped in the same fashion. If Konoha was to fall, then Hanzo and Kuretsuchi would have to work for it. Our friends died because of the elders' ignorance. Ino shouted. You took the Yondaime's legacy and tried to butcher it. Konoha lost everything because of your hatred towards Naruto. I know, and for that, I deserve no sympathy, Jiraiya said. Minato entrusted Naruto to the both of us, as we were both his godparents. Off their shocked looks, the dying man continued. But Tsunade and I wanted nothing to do with him, and we left him at the mercy of the people. Iruka's friendship towards Naruto was false. Tsuki and Ayame tried to poison him to death. Hell, I even tossed him into a ravine. Naruto summoning the boss toad was a fluke. The remaining Root Anbu, led by Sai, confronted Rashojin Hanzo. I know we can't forget the past. You can't forget love and pride. Because of that it's killing me inside. As the Iowa and AIM forces engaged the emotionless elite of the Nei, Sai fought Rashojin Hanzo, forcing the AIM warlord on the offensive with his ink jutsus. Inside the office, I confess that I betrayed the Sandame, my student. As much as I hate to admit, Naruto held the ideals that Hashirama Senju once had. The will of fire, Jiraiya said. He smiled sadly. Just like his father, he would have brought Konoha to greatness without force. I will tell you all something. It was the Uchiha, particularly Madara Uchiha, who unleashed the 9 tails in a frenzied state upon Konohagakure. It was Fugaku Uchiha who plotted a coup d'état. And it was Itachi Uchiha who slaughtered the Uchiha clan not to test his limits, but to stop a civil war. I let my ego and my pride cloud my judgment. Tsunade let her hatred cloud hers. Naruto was not the nine-tailed fox in a human body. He was just an innocent boy in all of this mess. Sai's body fell to the ground, his neck broken. Rashojin Hanzo turned from his men, who were finishing off the remaining members of the Root Anbu. He looked at his prize, the Hokage Tower, which sat in the distance. The seals were a hindrance, but he knew that Konoha was finished. He planned to thoroughly clean out the village of anything that wasn't nailed down. Then he would destroy all of its prized jutsu, be it elemental or clan techniques. The Hokage Tower he would save for last. Inside the office, "You four are the last of the Rookie 11, Jiraiya said. You can stay, fight and die, or you can make a new life for yourselves. Like I said, Konoha is finished. The seals will only keep aim and Iwa out for so long. As acting Hokage, I relieve you four of your duties. Get out while you still can. It's too late for me. But it's not too late for you. Hanzo's forces are coming down the main street, which means you have a 30-minute window to get whatever you need from your homes. Use the hidden route inside the graveyard behind the Shadaime's grave to escape. It all returns to nothing, it all comes tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down. We can't just leave you here. Choji objected. You can and you will, Jiraiya said as he retrieved a chest from under the table and opened it. Inside were exploding tags. Chakra-powered exploding tags. More than enough to level the Hokage Tower. Something I picked up from Naruto, Jiraiya said, remembering the booby-trapped chest inside the Namikaze estates. He tossed Shikamaru a storage scroll. That should be enough for the four of you to start over. I think 20 million Ryo should do the trick. You're almost out of time. Get out of here. He smiled. Good luck. Shikamaru nodded. Then he and the others left Jiraiya to his fate. Once they were gone, Jiraiya activated a second set of seals. Exploding seals, with a 10-second delay. He turned to the window and watched as Iwa and Aim made their way down the main streets, block by block. It wouldn't be long now. Turning back to the desk, he found Tsunade's sake stash inside a drawer. Shrugging his shoulders, he decided on one last drink. Pulling out the bottle of the strong drink, he found several photos at the bottom of the drawer. Jiraiya pulled them out as he undid the cork. Since there were no drinking cups, he decided to just knock the whole bottle back. It all returns to nothing, I just keep letting me down, letting me down, letting me down. The first picture was of himself, Tsunade and Orochimaru, back when they were genin, along with a younger Hiruzen Sarutobi. I fucked up big time, sensei, Jiraiya whispered. Konoha fucked up big time when it came to Naruto. If we only treated him better instead of treating him like he was a pariah, Konoha would not be in its final moments. You would be proud of him, sensei. He would have made a great Hokage, had he was given the chance. You saw that in him. He was unlike the Uchiha, thinking he could get something for nothing. He doesn't deserve our forgiveness. At the residential district, Shikamaru, Ino, Tenten and Shuza went to work. They cleaned out their homes of any cache and of family jutsu scrolls. Tenten made a side trip to the Hyuga compound, where there were several remaining cadet branch ninja pilfering the compound. It was there that Tenten learned of Hanabi's ultimate fate. Knowing well that she was pregnant with Neji's child, the branch clan handed the weapons master copies of the Jiyuken scrolls, and told her to leave. Tenten nodded in thanks and left the remaining ninja to their devices, but not before warning them that they had less than 30 minutes to get out before Hanzo's forces breached the seals guarding the residential districts. In my heart of hearts, I know that I could never love again. I've lost everything. Once they were prepared, they met at the grave of the Shadaime. Their Hitai Atesh and flak vests were left behind inside their homes, which they set fire to in order to deny Hanzo and Iwa anything of value. Knapsacks slung over their shoulders, they were ready to go. So, this is it, Shikamaru said. Never thought that Konoha would see its last days. Where do we go now? Ino asked. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere with plenty of food, Choji said as he finished off some chips. Everything that matters to me, matters in this world. Choji's right about being somewhere neutral, Ino said. We're the last of what Konoha should have been. We need to stick together. We'll head for Sea Country and rest up. Then we'll decide on our next move. With that, Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamaiki, and Tenten made their final escape from Konohagakure no Sato. They never looked back. Inside the Hokage's office, Jiraiya found pictures of Minato and Kushina, on their wedding day, and at home while Kushina was pregnant, along with pictures of Naruto with an elder Sarutobi, and of Minato and himself. Tsunade still blames Naruto for Kushina's death. Minato, Jiraiya confessed, the sake now gone. He was fading, and fading fast. It wasn't the Gaki's fault. If my pride and jealousy of you being a better seal master did not get to me, then I would have been at Naruto's side when the banishment orders came down. But you would have been proud of him, both you and Kushina. He's not Hokage, but the daimyo of Whirlpool. He revived her homeland. I wasn't worth the ground he walked on. Your son was better. I wish that I could turn back time. 'Cause now all the guilt is mine. Can't live without the trust from those you love. Outside the shattered window, he could hear Hanzo shouting orders. Secure the tower. I know Jiraiya is still alive somewhere. Bring him to me. As the ninja charged into the tower, Jiraiya let loose a small smile. With this final act, he would deny Rashogen Hanzo and Kuritsuchi the pleasure of displaying his corpse for all to see. Wish I could go out in style, he murmured as he held the photos close, his heart slowing down. I was hoping in bed with two ladies. Oh well. At least I could take out some more ninja before I go. He sighed. If only we treated Naruto better. Minato. Kushina. Sensei. Naruto. I am so sorry. With those words on his lips, Jiraiya breathed his last breath, and died. I know we can't forget the past. You can't forget love and pride. Because of that, it's killing me inside. Not long after Jiraiya's death, AIM Ninja burst into the room. All they found was one dead, former Sannin, clutching several photos to his chest, and a closed chest resting on the desk. Thinking that there was something valuable inside the chest, the three AIM Ninja opened it. And the exploding tags and the seals Jiraiya had set around the office and all over the Hokage tower activated. Ka-boom! Outside there was a flash of white, which was followed by the explosion, killing any AIM and Iwa ninja that were inside. The tower collapsed onto itself, leaving nothing but debris and rubble. The blast wave threw the invading ninja back, Rashogen included. The great-grandson of the salamander rose to his feet, and looked at the burning ruins of the Hokage tower. So, Jiraiya was there after all, Hanzo thought. Well played, old man. But in the end futile. It all returns to nothing, it all comes tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down. Indeed, it was futile. Upon Jiraiya's death, the seals had failed, allowing full access to the village. Turning to the AIM and Iwa ninja, he declared victory. The leaf has been crushed. Take whatever spoils you can carry. Destroy any jutsu you find. Konohagakure no Sato is finished. With that, the looting began. The Fire Capital, Fire Daimyo's residence. With the majority of the occupational forces down in Konoha, the Fire Daimyo decided to act. After one final visit of his family, he designated his eldest son as his successor before locking himself inside his office. The Fire Lord sat behind his desk, looking over the document which he had signed, turning over Konoha to slaughter. Hanzo was thorough. The civilians who had escaped Konoha were forbidden to leave Fire Country in order to start over. In effect, they were like him, prisoners inside their own homeland. It all returns to nothing, I just keep letting me down, letting me down, letting me down. He sat back in his chair, the tanto in his hands. He had hidden it inside his office, and the AIM forces had failed to find it. The blade was unsheathed, already stained with his blood, having sliced his wrists. The burden of selling out his integrity in exchange for his family's lives had proven too much for him to bear. He had hoped with his final sacrifice, that he would at least find some redemption in the life thereafter. It all returns to nothing, it all comes tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down. He would be found dead inside his office an hour later by his AIM guards. Ruins of Konohagakure no Sato, dawn. Konohagakure no Sato, once the strongest of the shinobi villages, was in flames. Rashojin Hanzo watched the city burn with an impassive look in his eyes. The city had been picked clean, its jutsu destroyed. He even decimated the remaining root Anbu in Danzu's underground headquarters by flooding the underground base with the salamander's poison, following by destroying all exits with several exploding tags. Kuretsuchi and her Aiwa ninja had long since left the battlefield, taking with them the spoils of war. Out of respect, did Hanzo ordered the graveyard not to be touched. The siege was over, but he had to admit that Konoha made him work for the victory. Over a quarter of AIM's ninja force had been killed, and it would take some time to recover. One of his lieutenants approached him. General Hanzo, we received word that 4 Konoha ninja has escaped the village. Only 4, Hanzo repeated, disinterested. Yes, General, Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamaiki and Tenten. Your orders. Hanzo thought long and hard for a moment. They are of no consequence to us. Our mission is accomplished. Consider this a mercy to the remnants. However, should they try to kill me, I will be more than willing to send them to meet their family and friends. Sir, another ninja appeared. Word from the Fire Capital. The Fire Lord was found in his office. He's dead, General. Hanzo nodded. Withdraw our forces from the capital. We are returning to Omegakure. It all returns to nothing, I just keep letting me down, letting me down, letting me down. By the end of the week, the news would spread throughout the elemental countries. Konoha had fallen to AIM and Aiwa. Most of the people's reactions outside of Fire Country came up to just 2 words, good riddance. The destruction of Konoha had not left a power vacuum as expected. Konoha had long since lost its status as the powerful of the shinobi villages. Neo Uzushiogakure was now the most powerful, Suna and Aiwa tied for second place. The people of Fire Country, their pride was broken with the loss of their village and of their wealth. Even Wave Country under Gato's rule was better off than Fire Country. The old saying was indeed true. Pride does come before the fall. Neo Uzushiogakure, 3 days after Konoha's destruction. The message from the Anbu was brief, yet satisfying. Konohagakure destroyed. Fire Lord committed suicide. Tsunade Senju. Confirmed KIA. Jiraiya. Confirmed KIA. Hanabi Hyuga. Confirmed KIA. Nara, Yamanaka, Akamaiki and Tenten confirmed missing. Omegakure and Iwagakure forces returned back to their villages. Naruto read it once again before setting the slip of paper down. Konoha was gone. Out of the entire shinobi force, only 4 known survivors. The assault had taken place during the Whirlpool Taijutsu tournament. In a way, it was justice. A long time coming, but it was justice. He shared the news with Hinata as they sat over lunch inside his office within the Neo Uzu compound. It's finally over, Hinata said. Konoha is gone. Naruto nodded. He could have destroyed Konoha any time. But he chose not to, deciding to let Konoha dig their own grave. For Fire Country, the destruction of the leaf and the suicide of their leader will probably be the most important day of their lives, Naruto mused. Really? His wife rebuked. So what was it for the both of us? Naruto smiled at his wife. For us, it was Tuesday. Hinata chuckled and the couple resumed eating. Maru asked me to relay a message to you. He wants to lead a group of ninja to the ruins to recover the ashes of the first 4 Hokages. Naruto grunted. The idea does have merit. They deserve a better resting place than in the ruins of a soon-to-be-forgotten city. Tell Maru that I will accompany him. We will leave for Konoha by the end of the week. Besides, I always wanted to piss on the ashes of the leaf. Hinata shook her head. Honestly, why'd I even bother with you? She said in a teasing tone. Because you've been nuts over me since our genin days. Whatever. I'll tell Moegi, and she will relay the message to Maru.